The jungle was silent except for the crackle of burning wood and the cry of strange creatures in the distance. A lone human traveler, Marcus, walked carefully through the ruins of a forgotten alien outpost, his boots pressed into the damp ground, and his eyes scanned the trees around him. He had been traveling alone for weeks, searching for supplies, searching for safety, never expecting anyone else to be here. But then he heard it. Soft laughter. It was not the laugh of a grown warrior, nor the cold echo of danger. It was light, teasing, playful. The sound made him freeze, his heart raced. He turned his head sharply, scanning the shadows. "Who's there?" Marcus called, his voice firm. From behind a broken wall, a tiny figure stepped out. She looked young, smaller than him by far. Her skin shimmered faintly under the weak sunlight. Her eyes were wide and bright, and her hair, if it could be called, hair was like silver threads that glowed faintly. She tilted her head, smirking. "You're loud, human," she said, her voice soft but full of mischief. Marcus stared at her. She was not a child, though her size made her look fragile. She was something else, an alien girl with a strange, almost delicate beauty. "What are you doing here?" he asked, gripping the strap of his pack tighter. Instead of answering, she laughed again, stepping closer. Her feet made no sound on the ground. Her smile widened as she circled him like a curious animal. "You walk like you own this place," she teased. "But you are lost, aren't you?" Marcus frowned. "I'm not lost," he said firmly. She leaned closer, her silver hair brushing her cheeks. "If you're not lost, then why do you look so nervous?" she whispered with a grin. Her teasing tone annoyed him, yet there was something strange in her eyes, something hiding beneath the playfulness. He felt uneasy, but he could not turn away. "You shouldn't be here," Marcus muttered. "It's dangerous," she chuckled, crossing her arms. "Dangerous for you, maybe not. For me," she said, and her voice carried both pride and sadness. Marcus took a step back. "Who are you?" he asked again. She twirled once, her small body moving gracefully, then stopped to face him. Her expression softened for a moment. "I don't have anyone anymore," she whispered, then quickly smiled again. "But now, maybe I'll follow you." Marcus felt his chest tighten. There was something heavy in those words, something she was hiding. But before he could ask more, she skipped toward him and tugged at his sleeve. "You're taller than I thought," she said playfully. "Do all humans look this strange?" He pulled his arm back, but she only laughed. Her laugh echoed in the ruined outpost, filling the air with something he had not felt in weeks. Life. Still, Marcus could not ignore the unease building inside him. Why was she here alone? Why was she teasing instead of explaining? And why did he feel as if eyes were watching them from the shadows? As the sun dipped lower, the alien girl followed him without asking. She hummed softly, skipping between the broken walls. He tried to ignore her, but every time he glanced back, she was staring at him with that same mischievous smile. When they stopped to rest, Marcus lit a small fire. The girl sat across from him, her silver hair glowing in the light. She leaned forward, chin on her hands, studying him like he was the strangest thing she had ever seen. "Why do you keep looking at me like that?" he asked finally. She giggled. "Because you look so serious," she replied. "It makes me want to tease you more." Marcus sighed, rubbing his forehead. "You should leave before it gets dark," he warned. "It's not safe." Her smile faded for just a second, her eyes lowering. "I have nowhere to go," she whispered, but then she quickly smirked again. "So, I'll stay with you, whether you like it or not." Marcus wanted to argue, but when he saw the faint tremble in her hands, he stayed silent. She was hiding something, he knew it. She was alone, fragile, but pretending to be strong through laughter and teasing. As night fell, the jungle grew darker. The fire crackled, shadows stretched long, and distant roars echoed. In the distance, the alien girl leaned closer to the flames. Her face was calm, but her eyes flickered with fear. She was trying hard to hide. Marcus looked at her quietly. He could see now that beneath her teasing words was loneliness, a deep pain she refused to show. "You should sleep." he said softly. She looked at him, her mischievous smile returning. Only if you promise not to leave me when I close my eyes, she whispered. Marcus froze. The words struck him harder than he expected. He nodded slowly. I won't leave, he said, her smile softened, not teasing this time. For a moment she looked at Peace. Her silver hair shone in the firelight, and her eyes closed slowly as Marcus sat by the fire keeping watch. He realized something. The encounter had changed everything. He was no longer alone, and the tiny alien girl who kept teasing him with every word was now part of his life, whether he wanted it or not. The morning light cut through the thick canopy of the jungle. Marcus stirred from his light sleep, his hand still gripping the handle of his blade. He had kept his promise and stayed awake most of the night, guarding the fire and watching over the tiny alien girl who had fallen asleep beside it. When he looked now, she was already awake, crouched on a rock, her silver hair shimmering like fresh dew. Her bright eyes studied him with the same mischief he had seen yesterday. And when their gazes met, she grinned. You snore, she teased, her voice playful. Humans are so noisy even when they sleep. Marcus frowned. I don't snore, he muttered, stretching his stiff arms. She hopped off the rock and walked over, circling him like she had done before. You looked like you were fighting monsters in your dreams, she said, waving her hands in the air dramatically. You tossed and turned, growling like a beast. Marcus shook his head, trying not to laugh. You're making that up, he said firmly. The alien girl smirked. Maybe, she said, but your serious face makes it more fun to tease you. He sighed, already knowing that the day ahead would not be quiet. He packed his things, tied his pack, and prepared to move. She followed closely, hopping on broken stones and balancing on fallen branches as if it was a game. Every step he took, she had a comment. Your boots are too heavy, she teased. You sound like thunder when you walk. Or, why do you always look like you're about to fight? Relax, human. The trees are not your enemies. Marcus tried to ignore her words, but a small part of him felt lighter hearing them. He had been alone for so long that even her constant teasing felt strange and alive. At noon, when the heat grew stronger, Marcus stopped near a stream to drink. He bent down, filling his flask with water. When he turned around, his heart sank. His pack was missing. He spun in panic, searching the bushes. But then he heard it, the familiar sound of her laughter, high and playful. It echoed through the trees. Looking for this? She called, holding his pack over her shoulder. She stuck out her tongue, her eyes glowing with mischief. Marcus groaned, walking toward her. Give it back, he demanded. She skipped backward, holding the pack tighter. Why? She asked, tilting her head. You look funny when you're angry. Because it's mine, he replied, stepping faster. She spun around, darting between the trees. Her laughter filled the forest as Marcus chased her. His boots slammed against the earth while she moved like a bird, light and fast. She climbed onto a low branch and dangled the pack, smiling down at him. You humans are so slow, she teased. Do you need help catching me? Marcus clenched, his jaw. I'm not playing games, he growled. She tossed the pack to the ground and landed beside it, her feet barely making a sound. Then why are you smiling? She asked softly. Marcus froze. He hadn't realized it, but he was smiling. She was right. In the middle of the chase, in the middle of his frustration, he had laughed, a feeling he hadn't felt in months. He picked up his pack and slung it over his shoulder. Stop messing with me, he muttered. Though his tone was softer than before, the alien girl leaned closer, her mischievous eyes locking with his. If I stop teasing you, she whispered, you'll be lonely again. Her words struck deep, and Marcus had no answer. She skipped away with a playful laugh, as if her confession had meant nothing, but he could not forget it. As the day grew darker, they continued walking together. At one point, Marcus tripped on a root and stumbled forward. She burst out laughing. Strong human defeated by a tree, she shouted, holding her stomach. Marcus grumbled but could not help chuckling too. Her laughter was contagious, even if it embarrassed him. When night came, they made camp again. Marcus built another fire. and the alien girl sat close to the flames. She poked at the burning wood with a stick, her silver hair glowing in the light. "You always look like you carry the whole galaxy on your shoulders," she said softly. "Why so serious all the time?" Marcus glanced at her, unsure how to answer. "Because this world isn't safe," he said. "If I relax, I die." She smiled faintly. "Then I'll keep teasing you," she whispered. "So you remember you're still alive." For the first time, Marcus saw something in her eyes that was not mischief. It was sadness, loneliness, hidden behind her jokes. She teased him, not just to annoy him, but because it was the only way she knew to connect. He looked into the fire, silent. She leaned her head on her knees, humming a strange tune. It was light, sweet, and haunting. Before sleep, she looked at him one last time. "Don't get too used to me teasing you," she warned with a sly grin. "One day I might stop." Marcus shook his head. "I don't believe that," he said quietly. Her smile widened, but her eyes glistened with something he couldn't quite read. As the night deepened, Marcus realized the teasing game was not just a joke. It was a shield, a mask she wore to hide her pain. And though it frustrated him, he found himself wondering what she would be like if she ever dropped that mask. The night air was heavy, the jungle alive with strange sounds. Marcus sat by the fire, sharpening his blade slowly. His eyes scanned the darkness around their small camp. The tiny alien girl sat across from him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the firelight. She hummed softly, pretending to be carefree, but Marcus noticed her hands trembled when she thought he wasn't looking. Something was wrong, he felt it. The jungle was too quiet between the animal cries, too tense as if waiting. "Stop sharpening that thing," she said, her voice playful. "You'll make it disappear." Marcus glanced up. "Better sharp than broken," he replied. She smirked. "You humans always think a blade will save you," she teased. "But sometimes it won't." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" Her smile faltered for just a second, but before she could answer, a branch cracked in the distance. Both of them froze. Marcus stood quickly, his blade ready. The alien girl's playful mask slipped away. Her wide eyes glowed with fear. "Stay behind me," Marcus whispered. She shook her head, stepping closer to him. "No," she said firmly. "They're here for me, not you." Marcus's heart pounded. "Who?" he demanded, but she didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his arm tightly, her small fingers digging into his sleeve. From the shadows, figures emerged, tall, armored, their eyes burning like coals. They carried strange weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Marcus tightened his grip on his blade. The girl's hand trembled on his arm. One of the armored aliens stepped forward, his voice cold and harsh. "Return the runaway," he ordered, "and you may live." Marcus's jaw clenched. He glanced at the girl. She bit her lip, her eyes lowering. Finally, he understood. She wasn't just a lost wanderer, she was being hunted. The girl forced a smirk, trying to hide her fear. "You're too late," she called, her voice shaking slightly. "I already found a better protector." She pressed closer to Marcus's side. The leader growled, his eyes narrowing. "The human cannot protect you," he spat. "Give her up or die with her." Marcus lifted his blade. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me," he said, his voice calm but firm. The alien girl gasped softly. Her teasing nature melted away, replaced by something Marcus had never seen in her eyes before. Hope. The armored figures stepped closer, their weapons humming louder. Marcus's muscles tensed. His mind raced. He was only one man. He could not fight them all. But leaving her was not an option. The girl suddenly tugged on his arm, pulling him toward the jungle. "This way," she whispered urgently. They ran. The fire was left behind, the shadows swallowing them as they dashed between trees and vines. Energy bolts cracked through the air, striking the ground near their feet. The girl's laughter was gone now, replaced by quick breaths and whispered directions. "Left, go left," she cried. Marcus followed without question, his blade still in his hand. His heart pounded as branches whipped against his face. The hunters crashed through the jungle behind them, their heavy footsteps shaking the ground. They ducked into a narrow ravine, climbing over rocks slick with moss. The girl slipped, but Marcus caught her wrist, pulling her up. For a moment she clung to him, her silver hair sticking to her face. "You're heavy for someone so small," he muttered. Her lips trembled into a weak smile. "Still teasing me?" She whispered, breathless. "Always," he said. They moved deeper into the ravine, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. Marcus could feel the danger closing in. The girl's eyes darted around, desperate. Finally, she pointed toward a dark opening in the rock. "There," she whispered. "A cave, we can hide." They slipped inside, the darkness swallowing them. Marcus pressed his back against the cold stone, listening. The hunter's footsteps thundered past, but he knew they were not safe yet. The alien girl leaned against the wall, her chest rising and falling quickly. For once, she was not teasing. She was silent, her wide eyes shining with fear. "Who are they?" Marcus asked quietly. She shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. "I can't tell you," she whispered. "Not yet." Marcus clenched his jaw. "They'll keep coming," he said, "as long as they want you." She nodded slowly, then stepped closer to him. Her small hand gripped his arm. "Promise me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Promise me you won't let them take me." Marcus looked down at her. His heart pounded. He saw not just the mischievous girl who teased him endlessly, but someone broken, someone who had been running for far too long. "I promise," he said. Her eyes glistened, and she leaned against him. For the first time since they met, she did not laugh, she did not tease. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you, human." The sound of footsteps echoed again outside the cave. Marcus tightened his grip on his blade. The danger had not passed. Shadows still hunted them. But for the first time, Marcus felt certain about one thing. He would not abandon her, no matter what waited in the dark. The cave was cold and damp. The sound of dripping water echoed through the darkness. Marcus sat near the entrance, his blade resting across his lap. His eyes never left the shadows outside. The alien girl sat only a few steps away, her silver hair faintly glowing in the dim light. She hugged her knees tightly, her playful smile gone. They had been silent for a long time. Marcus wanted answers, but he knew pushing too hard might break the fragile trust between them. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "You said they were here for you," he whispered. "Who are they?" The girl's eyes flickered with fear. She looked away, her fingers digging into her knees. "Hunters," she said softly. "Not for sport, not for food, but for power." Marcus frowned. "What do they want with you?" She hesitated, her lips trembling as if the words themselves were dangerous. "I wasn't always alone," she whispered. "I belonged to a clan, one of the oldest. My blood carries something they want, something they can use." Marcus's grip on his blade tightened. "What is it?" She looked at him now, her bright eyes filled with sadness. "Energy," she said. "Life itself, they say. My kind can fuel machines, heal wounds, even extend lives. That's why they hunt me. They don't see me as a person, only as a tool." Marcus's chest tightened. He understood now why she laughed so often, why she teased him every chance she got. Her jokes were shields. Her playful words were weapons to hide the truth. "You're just a child to them," he muttered. "But to me, you're not some tool." Her lips curved into a faint smile, but her eyes shone with unshed tears. "You're strange for a human," she whispered. "Most would sell me to them for a handful of credits." Marcus leaned closer, his voice steady. "I told you before," he said. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." The girl laughed softly, but it was not her usual mischievous laugh. It was shaky, fragile. "Why do you care?" she asked. "I only tease you. I make your life harder. I don't deserve your protection." Marcus shook his head. "You don't need to deserve it," he said. "You're alive, and you deserve to be free. That's enough." Her hands trembled as she wiped her eyes quickly, trying to hide her tears. "You're going to regret helping me," she whispered. "But I'll never forget it." The silence that followed was heavy. The jungle outside was restless. The hunters were still searching. Marcus could hear faint echoes of their metallic steps. The danger was close. He studied her quietly. Her silver hair framed her face. Her small body curled against the cold stone. She looked fragile, but her eyes carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. "You're stronger than you think," Marcus said gently, "but you don't have to carry it alone anymore." For a moment, she didn't reply. Then she shifted closer, sitting beside him. Her shoulder brushed against his arm. "Do you know why I tease you so much?" she whispered. Marcus glanced down at her. "Because you enjoy making me angry?" he asked. She shook her head, her smile faint. "Because if I don't laugh, I'll cry," she whispered. "And if I cry, I'll remember everything I lost." Marcus felt his chest tighten again. He understood now her teasing was not just mischief, it was survival. "Then laugh," he said firmly. "Laugh as much as you want. I'll still be here." Her eyes widened at his words. For once she didn't tease, she didn't smirk. She simply leaned her head against his arm, silent. The cave grew colder as the night dragged on. Marcus stayed awake, listening to the distant sounds of the hunters. The girl drifted into a restless sleep, her small frame shivering. Without thinking, he pulled his cloak around her shoulders. She sighed softly in her sleep, curling closer. Hours passed, and dawn's light finally touched the cave entrance. Marcus stood, stretching his sore muscles. The girl stirred, opening her eyes slowly. "They'll come again," she whispered. "They always come." Marcus nodded. "Then we'll be ready," he said. She looked at him, her mischievous spark slowly returning. "Careful, human," she teased softly. "If you keep protecting me like this, I might never leave your side." Marcus raised a brow. "Is that a threat?" he asked. She smirked, her silver hair falling over her face. "It's a promise," she whispered. Her words lingered in the air like a vow. The secret was out. The hunters would not stop. The danger would only grow. But Marcus knew something had changed. The girl was no longer just a stranger teasing him. She was someone worth fighting for, someone he refused to lose. She was someone worth fighting for, someone he refused to lose. And deep down he realized she felt the same. The cave walls dripped with cold water, each sound echoing in the silence like a slow clock. Marcus sat near the fading fire, his blade resting against his knee. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows outside, waiting for the hunters to return. The alien girl sat curled beneath his cloak, her silver hair glowing faintly. She looked peaceful at first glance, but Marcus knew her. Sleep was troubled. She stirred, murmuring in her alien tongue, her face tightening as if trapped in a nightmare. Marcus leaned closer, his voice low. "You're safe," he whispered. "No one will take you tonight." Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at him with that familiar mischievous glint. But her voice was softer. "You promised not to leave me," she said, "and you kept it." Marcus nodded. "I keep my word," he replied. The girl shifted closer to the fire, hugging her knees. "Do you know why I keep teasing you?" she asked suddenly. Marcus raised a brow. "You already told me," he said. "To stop yourself from crying." She smirked faintly. "That's part of it," she whispered. "But the truth is, you're funny when you're angry. It makes me forget the monsters that chase me." Marcus shook his head, but a small smile tugged at his lips. She always found a way to turn fear into laughter. He admired that, even if he wouldn't say it out loud. The hours dragged slowly. The jungle outside grew restless, strange cries cutting through the night. At one point, the girl leaned against his shoulder, her eyes closing again. Marcus didn't move. He let her stay, her warmth reminding him that he was no longer alone. Suddenly, a howl ripped through the night. Not an animal, but something mechanical. Marcus tensed. The girl's eyes shot open, fear flashing across her face. "They're closer," she whispered. "The hunters use machines to track me." Marcus stood quickly, extinguishing the fire with his boot. Darkness swallowed the cave. He turned to her. "Stay behind me, no matter what," he said firmly. She nodded, her small hands trembling. Together they pressed against the cave wall, listening. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed outside. Metal clashed against stone. Marcus held his breath. His grip tightened on his blade. The girl clutched his arm, whispering, "If they find us, they'll never stop. They'll drain me until nothing is left." Marcus looked at her, his voice steady. "Then they'll have to kill me first." Her eyes widened at his words, and for a moment her teasing mask broke, replaced by raw emotion. "Why?" she whispered. "Why risk yourself for me?" "Because no one deserves to be hunted like that," he replied. "Not while I'm still breathing." Tears welled in her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. "You're foolish," she whispered, with a shaky smile, "but I'm glad you're my fool." Outside, the hunters moved past the cave, their heavy boots echoing like thunder. Marcus held his breath until the sounds faded. Only then did he lower his blade. The girl sighed, collapsing against him. "That was too close," she whispered, her voice cracked, but she quickly added, "See? Even you can't protect me forever." Marcus smirked faintly. "Then we'll make forever last as long as we can," he said. She laughed softly, pressing her forehead against his arm. "You sound like one of those old stories my people used to tell," she said. "A human warrior protecting a foolish alien girl. It almost sounds romantic." Marcus stayed silent, unsure how to answer. The words lingered between them, heavy and unspoken. As the night deepened, they remained close, Marcus keeping watch while she drifted in and out of uneasy sleep. At one point, she woke again, her eyes soft in the darkness. "Do you know what I miss most?" she whispered. "What?" Marcus asked quietly. She smiled faintly. "The sound of laughter, not mine, but my family's. I teased them too, you know. It was the only way I knew how to show love. And then one day, they were gone." Her voice cracked. Marcus didn't speak. He simply placed his hand gently over hers. She stiffened for a moment, then relaxed, letting the warmth comfort her. "You're strange, human," she whispered. "You don't run. You don't give me away, you stay." "I told you," Marcus said, his voice calm. "I won't leave." For the first time she believed him. He could see it in the way her eyes softened, in the way her teasing faded into quiet peace. When dawn finally broke, light spilling into the cave, Marcus stretched his sore limbs. The girl yawned, brushing her silver hair from her face. "You kept watch the whole night?" she asked, her voice teasing again. Marcus nodded. "Someone had to," he said. She smirked. "Careful. If you keep protecting me like this, I might fall in love with you," she whispered playfully. Marcus froze. Her words were delivered as a tease, but her eyes betrayed something deeper, something she wasn't ready to admit. The long night had changed them both. They were no longer just strangers thrown together by chance. They were partners in survival, bound by danger, secrets, and something unspoken that grew stronger with every heartbeat. The jungle was quiet at dawn. Too quiet. Marcus tightened the strap of his pack and checked the edge of his blade. The tiny alien girl stood beside him, her silver hair tangled from the long night. Her eyes flickered with worry, though she tried to hide it with a faint smirk. "They'll come again," she whispered. "They never stop." "Not until they catch me," Marcus nodded. "Then we'll be ready," he said. They left the cave, moving quickly through the thick trees. The jungle was alive with strange calls and the rustle of unseen creatures. But Marcus's focus was sharp. His instincts told him danger was close. The girl stayed close to his side, her small hand brushing his arm every few steps. Hours passed before the silence shattered. A sharp crack echoed in the air. Then a beam of energy struck the ground in front of them. The earth exploded. Dirt. Flying into the air, the girl screamed. Marcus grabbed her and pulled her behind a fallen tree. The hunters had found them. Figures in dark armor emerged from the shadows, their weapons humming with deadly light. Their glowing eyes locked on the girl. The leader stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Hand over the runaway human. This is your final chance." Marcus stood tall, his blade gleaming in. the morning light. "You'll have to kill me first," he said firmly. The girl's heart pounded. Her eyes widened as she stared at him. He was outnumbered, hopelessly outmatched, yet he stood between her and death without hesitation. The hunters raised their weapons, beams of energy slicing through the trees. Marcus rolled to the side, dragging the girl with him. His blade slashed at the nearest enemy, sparks flying as steel met alien armor. The battle had begun. The girl scrambled to hide behind a rock, watching in horror as Marcus fought. His movements were fast, desperate, every strike aimed to survive. He dodged blasts, his blade cutting down one hunter, then another, but there were too many. One hunter swung at him with a glowing spear. Marcus blocked the impact, rattling his arms. He pushed back, kicking the enemy into a tree. Another lunged from behind. Marcus turned just in time, his blade slicing through the weapon before driving into the attacker's chest. But for each one that fell, two more appeared. "Marcus," the girl cried, her voice breaking. She wanted to help, but her body froze with fear. "Stay down," he shouted, blocking another strike. His muscles burned, his breath heavy, but he refused to fall. The leader of the hunters stepped forward. Towering above the rest, his weapon glowed brighter, energy sparking in the air. "Foolish human," he growled. "Do you really think you can defy us?" Marcus stood, blood dripping from a cut on his arm. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. "I don't care who you are," he said. "She's not yours to take." The leader roared, charging forward. Their weapons clashed, light against steel. The force nearly knocked Marcus off his feet. Sparks flew, trees cracked under the impact. The girl watched with tears streaming down her face. Her body shook, her voice trembling. "Please," she whispered to herself. "Please don't let him die." Marcus fought with everything he had, his blade moving in a blur. He blocked the leader's strikes, dodged the deadly energy blasts, and countered with furious determination. But the leader was stronger, faster, and his armor was thick. Finally, the leader struck Marcus across the chest, knocking him to the ground. His blade fell from his hand. The hunters cheered as their leader raised his weapon for the final blow. "Marcus!" The girl screamed. Without thinking, she ran from her hiding place, throwing herself in front of him. Her small body trembled as she faced the leader. Her eyes glowed fiercely. "Stay away from him!" she cried. Her voice echoed with something ancient, something powerful. The leader froze for a moment, then laughed coldly. "Do you really think you can stop me?" he sneered. The girl's body glowed faintly, the same energy the hunters wanted to exploit. But instead of draining her, it flared outward, a protective shield wrapping around her and Marcus. The leader's weapon slammed against it, sparks flying. But the shield held. Marcus groaned, forcing himself up. His hand found his blade again. With one last surge of strength, he struck. His blade pierced through the leader's armor. The alien roared in pain before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. The other hunters froze, their eyes widening. Then, without their leader, they retreated, into the shadows, fading back into the jungle. Silence returned, broken only by Marcus's heavy breathing and the girl's sobs. She dropped to her knees, clutching his arm. "You fool," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You nearly died." "For me." Marcus wiped the blood from his face, his chest aching. He looked at her, his voice steady despite the pain. "I told you if they want you, they go through me first." She cried harder, burying her face against his chest. "Why?" she asked, her words muffled. "Why would you do this?" Marcus placed a hand gently on her silver hair. "Because you're worth it," he said softly. Her body trembled as she clung to him. For once, there was no teasing, no smirks, only raw emotion. She whispered into his chest, "Then you're mine now, forever." Marcus closed his eyes, his hand still resting on her head. The battle was over for now, but he knew the war was far from finished. Still, as he held her trembling form in his arms, he felt a new strength inside him. Together they had survived, and together they would fight again. The jungle was quiet after the battle, too quiet. The hunters had retreated, but Marcus knew they would come again. He leaned against a fallen tree, his body aching from wounds. The alien girl sat beside him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her small hands trembled as she tried to clean the blood from his arm with a strip of cloth. "You're reckless," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You nearly died." Marcus winced as she tied the cloth tighter. "I'm still alive," he said softly. "And so are you." Her eyes glistened as she looked at him. "Because of you," she said. "You fought all of them for me." He shook his head. "I didn't fight for you alone," he whispered. "I fought because no one should be hunted. No one should be treated like a thing." For once, she didn't tease. She leaned her forehead against his chest, her body trembling. "You're strange for a human," she whispered. "Most would have given me up long ago." "And I told you," Marcus said, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "I don't give up." The night grew colder. They found shelter in the ruins of an old cabin half buried in the jungle. Its roof was cracked, vines crawling across the walls, but it was safer than sleeping under open sky. Marcus lit a small fire in the center, the flames casting soft light across the broken floor. The girl sat close to the flames, hugging her knees. Her teasing smile returned, but it was different now, softer, warmer. "You really look awful," she said, smirking. "Humans bleed too easily," Marcus chuckled weakly. "Better than glowing, like a lantern in the dark," he said, nodding at her silver hair. She gasped dramatically, her eyes widening. "Did you just insult me?" she asked. "Brave words from a man I saved with my shield," he smirked. "I saved you first, remember?" Her lips curved, her eyes shimmering. "Then maybe we saved each other," she whispered. The words hung in the air, heavy but gentle. Marcus looked at her quietly. For the first time since they met, she wasn't hiding behind teasing or laughter. She was simply herself, tired, vulnerable, and yet strong. The fire cracked softly, casting shadows on the walls. The girl shifted, closer, her head resting lightly against his shoulder. "Do you know what this feels like?" she asked, her voice low. "This feels like home. I never thought I'd feel that again." Marcus's chest tightened. He glanced down at her. "Then stay," he whispered. "Stay with me." She looked up at him, her wide eyes searching his face. Her lips trembled, then curled into a faint smile. "Careful, human," she whispered. "If you keep saying things like that, I'll believe you mean it." "I do mean it," Marcus said firmly. Her smile wavered, and for once, she had no teasing reply. Instead, she leaned closer, her hand brushing his. Her fingers were small, fragile, yet warm. He didn't pull away. Outside, the jungle roared with distant cries, but inside the ruined cabin, the night grew still. The girl rested her head fully against him, her eyes closing. "You thought I teased you because I was childish," she whispered, softly. "But really, it was my way of saying I trust you, and maybe more than that." Marcus's heart pounded. He wrapped his arm gently around her shoulders, pulling her close. "Then keep teasing me," he whispered, "because I'm not letting you go." Her body relaxed against him. For the first time since they met. She looked peaceful, not hiding, not pretending, just herself. The fire burned low, filling the cabin with soft warmth. Marcus leaned back against the wall, his blade resting within reach. The girl nestled against him, her breath steady, her silver hair brushing against his chest. As the night stretched on, they stayed like that, two souls who had been alone for too long, now finding comfort in each other. She whispered one last time before sleep claimed her, her voice so soft he almost missed it. "You're mine now, human, and I won't let you leave me." Marcus smiled faintly, his eyes closing. "Good," he whispered, "because I won't leave." The long journey, the hunters, the danger, they were far from over. But as they shared the night together, both knew they had found something greater than survival. They had found trust, belonging, and the spark of something that could never be hunted down or stolen.